Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a little fall reading video for you guys. So I'm here in my room. I just set up my bookshelf with my TBR for the rest of the year. I wanted to talk to you guys about what I wanted to read for the rest of the year, and if you need ideas for what you want to read for the rest of the year, I have created a couple. But I did have a little psychotic moment the other night and decided to put my books in order of how I want to read them. So I basically planned out my TBR for the rest of the year. Because I'm probably going to read around 30-ish books, so I have to make them count. And I want to get through my physical TBR. But also, of course, there's so many good books that are still coming out this year, so I have to fit those in. As well as I need just like silly romances between books that are like a little bit serious. So I've organized these to put them in an order which I think is doable, and then I'll probably sprinkle them in with like books on my phone. What I started with, and this one's hidden a little bit, but I wanted to start with Kismet, because that to me is still giving summer, but we still, there's a couple weeks left, there's still like a week left in August and a couple of warm September weeks, I'm hoping. So that will be like my final summer book to get me into the rest of the fall vibes. And then I'm so excited for this. I just have to make this first. Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. I loved Forget Me Not. I still think about Forget Me Not. If you haven't read it, read it. It is so good. Wedding Planner and a Florist. It's so cute. It has such good smut, and it's like a good amount. And I just love the story, and it just, God, it's amazing. I love it. I can't say enough good things about it, but so I'm very excited and have very high expectations for her next book. And next we have The Throne of the Fallen, which I'm gonna admit I didn't pick up for a while because I was worried it was gonna be a little too much fantasy and I'd have to lock in. And then my friend told me she hated it because there's too much smut in it. So now I'm gonna be reading that next. Thanks for the recommendation, Maria. So that seems right up my alley. Again, we're starting off with the chiller, stuff to get us into when we're really ready to lock in and fall. Next, I want to do A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. I still haven't read any of Megan Quinn's books, so I wanted to put it closer so I make sure that I do read that before the end of the year. Next, we have Olivia Blake, One for My Enemy. I am borrowing this from my mom, so I do want to read it fairly soon. Yeah, I haven't read any of Olivia Blake's books either, and my mom really liked this. It's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, is what I got the sense, so that I will definitely be reading next. And then I have had Tears' book for a while, my aunt's book, Love in the Time of Serial Killers, and again, it's giving fall vibes, so I will read that so I can then return it to her, and also I just feel like that fits fall much more than it fits summer. Next, I just bought this the other day, The Ministry of Time, and it looks so cool. I'm very excited to get into it, but I think I just need a nice cozy fall day where I'm just reading inside to read it. So that will be when I get to that. And then we have a couple of serious ones in a row, so I'll probably be breaking these up with shit on my phone. Next we have The Paris Apartment. I really like Lucy Foley. I loved The Guest List, and I've had this book for forever and I've been wanting to read it. So close to the beginning of the TBR, so I think that will go next. And then The Secret History. I've also been wanting to read this. I actually started this on my phone and I was locked in immediately, and I was super interested. Please, I need to stop saying locked in, oh my god. But I was invested immediately and I really enjoyed it, but it's just not the kind of book that you could read on your phone. I knew I needed a physical copy, so I was waiting till I bought it, and then it was summer and it wasn't the right time to read it. So I'm gonna read that this fall. I will definitely read that before the end of the year. Next we have The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I've heard so much about this, and I bought this a little while ago, so I think it'll be a good palette cleanser between The Secret History, because I have a feeling that's gonna take a lot out of me. And then we have one that I've also been putting off for a while because I thought in order to read Hellbent I had to finish Ninth House, and the idea of going back and rereading Ninth House and then reading Hellbent was just too much for me, so I haven't read it, but I have decided I'm just gonna fucking Wikipedia a summary of the first book so I can finally read that, because I can't end the year not having read that. I've had it for too long, and I loved Ninth House. I don't understand why in my head it's this is gonna be such a hard book for me to get through, and I'm hoping that The Secret History puts me in a good dark academia mood so I can finally finish it. or start it. Next, we have the X-Hex. This is also a borrow from Tirza. But luckily she's not too strict on when I return her books. But yeah, it's just looks like a witchy romance. Perfect for, I think, Halloween time. And so I'm hoping I'm timing these right, so this will hit around Halloween. We'll see how quickly I'm reading in the next couple of months. But yeah. Next we have Caraval, which I'm also really excited for, and maybe I should put this sooner. I don't know. I'm obviously not gonna follow this exactly, but this was like to like give myself peace of mind that I will finish my TBR and to like I'm holding myself accountable. You guys hold me accountable. I said I'm gonna read all these books. I need to, because also Christmas I get more books, and then it just like puts me so far behind. So I'm like, I can't get any more books until I read some of the books that I've had for a year plus. It's just like, honestly, it stresses me out to have unread books on my bookshelves. I don't know how people have like hundreds of them. Like I'm just like, God, I can't, because people will ask, they're like, oh, that's your book, what do you think? I'm like, I haven't read it. It's like, you've had it a couple years, why haven't you read it? And then also like, I can't share well, I can, and I have shared some of these books that I haven't read yet, but like I want to read them and then I want to pass them on to someone else, you know? Like I feel like I'm hoarding books if I'm not actually using them. Anyway, it's truly irrelevant to what I've been saying. Okay, Caraval. So I loved her first series, Once Upon a Broken Heart, and I read that so quickly and it put me in such like a fun little mood. So I'm hoping I really like this. And then it's like kind of like fantasy to break up some of the, you know, darker academia. So I think that will be fun. Next, we have Hunt on Dark Waters by Katie Robert. I think she did Neon Gods, which I can't say I was obsessed with, but she writes like very smutty romance books, so I think that will be a good palate cleanser after a good, like, fun little fantasy series. And then we're gonna lock in another Olivia Blake, the Atlas 6. I didn't do this before the other Olivia Blake because I'm pretty sure this is a series, so I want to give myself a little time if I want to read the next couple of books after this. But yeah, I think it's finally time I read the Atlas 6, and I think that's dark academia, so I'll like have read some of it and be in the mood for it, but it won't be like back to back, because I feel like I compare books like too much if I read the same genre over and over again. So I like to have like different genres in between. Next, another one I've had for a while, the Bromance Book Club. I'm reading this year. I've had it too long. I need to read it. So definitely before the end of the year. And then I have Out. This is like a Japanese true crime thriller type book that I've been very excited to read. Like, I don't know why I haven't read it, but I'm like, fall time, perfect time for it. So fall, winter. I have a feeling we're probably getting into winter here, so I will read that this year. Hold me accountable. Next we have Sally Rooney, Beautiful World, Where Art Thou? I literally think I bought this book 2 years ago, and I don't know why. I loved Normal People. I couldn't get into conversation with friends, but I think I just need to give it another try, because again, I think about Normal People every day, and I rewatch the series every time I would feel like torturing myself, so I really want to like this book, and I want to read this book. Next we have a book my mom got me, Gallant. It's a V.E. Schwab book. I think I started this a little while ago and I like stopped reading, and then like I'm not someone who can like pick up a book after I don't remember how it started, so then I just like put it off. But I want to read it this year. I loved The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and my mom really likes her other work, so I'm definitely going to read that this year. And then the other books I'm not going to hold myself to. I already feel like this is a little unrealistic because I'm a mood reader, so like I say this is the order I'm going to read it, but then something's going to come out, or I decide I want to pick something else out, and then I'm going to forget. But no, I for sure want to read like at least like half of these, and the ones that I said I really want to read, I need to. But yeah, so these I'm not going to hold myself accountable to. But I did want to talk about some of the new releases that are coming out this year that I want to read. Okay, first up, and this is a recommendation, if you need a good fall book to read, I loved The Serpent and Wings of Night and read that I think at the very beginning of this year. And it was like technically a duology, but there's a third book in the series that follows a different character. So like we're getting a different romance. And the third book comes out November 19th, 2024. So I really want to read that. I'm so excited for it. And I also at some point want to hop into her other, I know she has different series, but yeah, Carissa Broadbent. Yeah, I really liked Serpent of Wings and Night. And if you want a good, like, I feel like fantasies for fall, winter. So if you want a good fantasy vampire series, I highly recommend that one. This has technically already come out, but I have not read it. Swan Song by Ellen Hildebrand. I think this is her final Nantucket book. And it's definitely summer vibe, so I want to read it again in that kind of in-between area, so maybe I should get on that. But yeah, that's definitely one of the releases of this year that I've been wanting to read. Next is a novel love story. This is actually out currently. I'm currently reading The 7-Year Slip because I didn't want to read her new release without, I didn't want to read or buy her new release without reading 7-Year Time Slip because I've also had that for so long and haven't like been in the mood to read it. So I'm like, I'm gonna read this and then I'll read your new release. But that is also on my list to read this year. Okay, this book also just came out, Apprentice to the Villain. I think the first one is Assistant to the Villain, which I saw a couple of weeks ago in the bookstore, and I really like was interested in it, so I want to read the first one. And then the second one is coming out, or the second one is already out. So two books. Again, do you see how like the numbers aren't adding up? I'm like, I have so many, and this is if I decide to read just the books that are on my list. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm stressing myself out. Reading is fun. It's a hobby. I don't need to read all of these. I just want to. And then September 24th, Sally Rooney is coming out with Intermezzo, what is it? I don't even know what it's about. I just know Rooney wrote it and she's amazing. It seems chess themed and I love a chess theme. I loved Ali Hazelwood's chess book. I loved Queen's Gambit, so it seems fun. But again, I'm like, should I read that before I read Sally Rooney's Beautiful World? No, I might. This one is already out, but Lana Ferguson wrote a hockey romance. Nothing says fall and winter like a hockey romance, though I do read them year-round. It's just the best genre of romance. But I loved The Fake Mate, and I've been wanting to read, I think it's The Nanny by her, so this is also something that I want to read this year. That I think is super fun. Next we have For a Reconsidered Funeral. I think this is already out and I've heard amazing things, or if it's not already out, people have like the advanced copies of it, but I've heard like really good things about it and it seems very interesting. So also on the TBR. Okay, and November 5th we have the next book in the Rebel Blue Spring series, Lost and Lassoed, and I think this is about the sister's best friend and the brother, and they hate each other and they just don't get along at all. And it literally, since the first book, I'm like, I can't wait till we get to their book. So I'm very excited for this, highly anticipated, and I will read this as soon as it comes out. This is also already out. It's The Reappearance of Holly Price by Holly Jackson. I just watched A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I knew this would get me in a very like murder mystery vibe, so I'm excited to go and read this. I already have it downloaded on my phone. I've just been waiting for the right mood to come, and I'm almost done. I went back and I reread A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I'm almost done with that series, so then I'm gonna go and read The Reappearance of Holly Price, so I'm very excited for this. Holly Jackson just does like YA like mystery thriller so well, like, and she just like has you so interested in like all the characters and the story and the background, and she just like builds it up so well, and I feel like does it in a way that I like never know what's like coming, which I really appreciate. Next we have Vilest Things. This is Chloe Gong's sequel to Immortal Longings. I love this book. It was her first adult fantasy she did. These Violent Delights, which was a Romeo and Juliet retelling, I loved it. It's YA, it's so good. Rival gangs. But so I read her adult fantasy right when it came out, and I was like, this is amazing. I'm loving this. So I'm so excited for the sequel. I will be reading that immediately. When does that come out? That is coming out September 10th, so it's coming out so soon. I'm so excited. Okay, and then Anna Huang is dropping a new series. I think this is her first like sports romance series. I haven't read all of her books, so I could be wrong, but it's called The Striker, so I'm very excited. I think this is soccer romance, so I'm not as locked into soccer romance, but Anna Huang writes some amazing smut, so I'm very excited. And then September 24th, we have Nothing Like the Movies coming out by Lynn Painter. This is the sequel to her first book, Better Than the Movies, which is a YA series, and it's just it's a YA book, and it's just so cute. And I didn't know she was going to do a sequel, but apparently, I mean, I don't want to spoil it because if you haven't read the first book, but read the first book, because there's a sequel of after they go off to college or whatever. So I'm just like, I just know this is gonna break me, but I'm so excited for it. I am very excited. So September 24th cannot come soon enough. I love Lynn Painter so much. I specifically love all her YA stuff, which is rare for me. Like, I like the YA way more than I like her adult romance. But that is it for new releases that we should read this year. I want you to read them so we can talk about them. But I've written down some books if you need ideas of what to read. And so these are already all out at the moment. I've read them. I like them. I obviously recommend them. So yeah, if you need any fall recs, here they are. I'm going to start. I just feel like fall and winter are like mystery, thriller time, fantasy, dark academia. I obviously read romance year round, but like hockey romance, like if there's like a school or like a going, you know, like that type of vibe, I really like reading that in the fall. First up, and I literally was just talking about this, but The Guest List by Lucy Foley. It is a wedding. There you're going through like 6 different POVs of people who are at the wedding, and one person is married, or one person is murdered, and you don't know who, and you also obviously don't know who killed it, so it's going through the POVs of everyone right before the murder happens, so it's super interesting. Next we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time. I just picked this up randomly last year, and I could not put it down. I loved it so much. I thought it was so interesting, and like unlike anything I'd read before. Basically this mother watches her 18-year-old son murder someone, and then she wakes up the day before it happens, and every day she wakes up another day before, so she's basically traveling back in time to kind of solve the murder and figure out where she went wrong. And it is just so interesting, and it just oh god, it's so good. And I did not expect the ending at all. I would highly recommend it. Next we have Book of Night by Holly Black. She's the one who did The Cruel Prince. This is very Halloween-y. It's ghosts and it's honestly it's unlike any other world that I've seen, kind of. Basically people shadows can be taken and used and manipulated, and it's just this very dark mystery. I'm explaining this so terribly because I read this a year ago, and I never fully understood it, but it was good. If you want something to occupy all of your time and all of your mental energy, start Zodiac Academy. I think the winter is the best time to do it, when you have no plans and nothing to distract you, because it will take over your life. It is so good. It's like a smutty Harry Potter, except instead of different houses, actually no, they are different houses, but instead of the different houses being about your personality, it's about what elements you have, and you have more than one. So it's fire, earth, water, air, but if you're really powerful, you're in two, but you still resonate with one house. So they're all in different houses, and it's these two girls are taken from the mortal world and brought here, and immediately it's the 4 main guys of the houses hate them and want to mess with them, but also obviously there's an attraction there, and it just spirals so much, and it is just so good, and you just come to love all of the characters so much, and you're so invested in everything that's going on, and the romance and the smut. Oh my god, it will take over your life, but highly recommend for the winter time. Another kind of fucked up little read for this fall is Mindfucked. People like Butcher and Blackbird. Mindfucked did it better. This is the best serial killer romance series of all time, and I haven't even read that many, but I know with certainty that it is, because it is so good. Again, make sure you have your whole calendar open, because I read this entire thing in a couple days and I could not put it down. I literally am I can't make any other plans. It's so good. It's about this girl who is a serial killer and this guy who's an FBI agent, and they just like happen to meet, but he is investigating her and he doesn't know that he's investigating her. Oh my god, but she's like revenge killing all of these people. They all deserve it. I'm 100% on her side. God, it's just so good. It's so good, and what better time to read it than now, guys? And then more for all, because I don't know, I know that's only going to be for a select few who would like to read those. But if you like a kind of YA, still dark academia, mystery type thing without all the other stuff, I would recommend Truly Devious. It's about this girl who goes to this super elite boarding school to solve the like true crime, like open-ended case from when the school was founded. So the founder of the school went missing, and then his, I think, wife and son were killed, and it was never solved as to what happened. So this girl like trying to uncover all these secrets, and it's this whole series. It's so interesting, it's so cool. I love the vibes of it. I actually didn't finish the last 2 books, but it's really fun. I think really good for the fall. And then this is a different vibe, but still like kind of like boarding school-esque, Misfit by Elle Kennedy. This is, again, it's like boarding school, but this is more on the romance side of it. This guy basically, his mom marries someone new and he gets sent to this boarding school, and then he like has a thing with, of course, the head of the school's daughter, and it's just super fun. Silly little romance with like school problems, like set in a fun setting. So I would recommend this. This is also a series. I think it's called like the Prep series. I think it's still ongoing. I read like the first 2, or if the first 2 are out, I've read the first 2. And then for a more like thriller school vibe, They Wish They Were Us is really good. It's like rich kids at a prep school. The main character's best friend was killed 3 years ago, but the guy who did it, her boyfriend confessed at the time, so it's a closed case. But she like opens the case back up because she doesn't believe it, and all of this mysterious stuff is happening, and there's like loose ends that aren't tied. So she like starts to, you know, leave her like bubble of rich friends and everything, and like starts to look into it, and it's super interesting and good. Very good thriller. And then for like fantasy vibes, The Hazelwood is very good. It's kind of similar to Once Upon a Broken Heart, or like those vibes. I think The Hazelwood is like, it's not as well done as that, but it's still super interesting. Her mom goes missing, and her grandma has basically written all these like fairy tale stories and has this like really kooky fan base. But she like starts to realize that all of those stories are like true, and she has to like go to this place called the Hazelwood to find her mom, basically. And so yeah, it's like all of the fairy tale stories are based off of fact, and like you go into the fairy tale world kind of, so it's really fun. Another fantasy rec, I just read the sequel for this. I think it came out this year, but the first is The Foxglove King. I like read this and I enjoyed it, but I read the sequel and I loved it. So now I'm like, need everyone to read this so we can discuss it, because it was so good. It's giving, if you liked The Throne of Glass, it's giving early Throne of Glass. It's giving just like, it's so fun and like magical, and I love the world, and I love the characters, and there's a great love triangle. It is just such a fun fantasy book, and yeah, so I think no better time than the present to start reading that one. Next, I read this summer, and I can't say I was obsessed with it, but I do think if I read it over the winter, I would like this more. The Kilt Trip, it just gives like such like Hallmark vibes. Like, I just think this is the time to read it if you're like thinking about traveling and going to Scotland and going on all these tours. Like, this is, yeah, I think it literally, it's like Christmas and New Year's over the book. I'm like, why did I read this over the summer? I don't know. And then I think this takes place over the summertime, but it gives to me fall energy. It's My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. Tessa Bailey, my queen, love her. Basically, this girl goes on vacation in Florida and she either finds a dead body or like I think she finds a dead body in her Airbnb, and like a bunch of peepholes and like weird shit. And the guy who was sent to investigate it, she obviously ends up having a thing, so she like tries to help him investigate, but he doesn't want her to. And it's just like super interesting. And so it's like a little bit, it's a lot of romance and it's a little bit of thriller. energy. So very fun. And then I also think fall and winter is a time for tearjerkers and to rip out your own heart through reading. So I was talking about Normal People earlier. I think this is the time, if you haven't read it, to read Normal People. And then if you're looking for, it's not as good as Normal People. I don't know if anything is ever going to be as good as it, but Before We Were Strangers is also very good. It's about these two people who see each other across a train, and like remember 15 years ago the relationship that they had right when they started college. And so I think it's dual timelines. I read this a little while ago. I gave it 5 stars. So I'm like, maybe I should reread and see if I would still give it 5 stars. But I remember it being so good. But yeah, they like meet each other as soon as college starts and they're in a relationship, and they're also just like really good friends, and then they just like don't speak or see each other for 15 years. And so I think it's like going through the timelines at the same time. And again, as I said earlier, hockey romance can be read year round, but I think fall and winter is the time to read hockey romance. So I'm just gonna read out a couple of hockey romances that I like, that if you're looking for one, you should read. I can't say this enough. The Deal, The Risk, anything by Elle Kennedy, Body Check, her first series, her second series, her third series, literally read all of them. Like, why not? It's winter time. I think there's like 12 books out. The first 2 take place around the same time, and then the third one is the kids of the first 2 series. It's so good. Collide, The Fake Out, Breakaway. But okay, I think that is everything I wanted to chat to you guys about today. I love fall. I'd say it's second favorite season after summer, of course, because it's my birthday, and I also just I like the changing of seasons. I love being cozy. I love Halloween. And yeah, I'm really excited for everything that I'm going to read over fall and all the new releases, and I hope I gave you guys some good ideas as to what you want to read for the next year. Okay, love you guys. Talk to you later.